All right, let's take a look at the integration that we built between BlackLine and Incorta. Um, this integration allows users of BlackLine to really streamline and save several hours in their processing in BlackLine by providing all the detail they need to support their actions in BlackLine. All that detail is maintained in Incorta and available to them with a single click, so they can drill through to all the detail they need to support their decisions in BlackLine. I'm going to start out as a user of BlackLine, and there are three types of users in BlackLine: preparers, approvers, and reviewers. But regardless of the role, this capability is useful for each of them. And this is a typical BlackLine homepage, is what I would see when I first log in. And the typical action that they would take is to go and view their reconciliations. And so I'm going to view my reconciliations as a preparer. You'll notice that this particular one is not prepared. I've already filtered on account 1210 and ledger 650. So I see these three accounts, and I'm going to select the first one here. You'll notice it's a account receivables account, so that's important. Let's go ahead and take a view. And it brings me to this page where I can see that there's $43 million in unreconciled transactions. And so that my job is then to support this and reconcile this amount. Now, normally what I would have to do as a BlackLine user is I would have to go figure out which ERP this came from, go log into that ERP system, do a search, and try to find all the different supporting transactions that would support this amount. I might even have to make a request to IT to create a report for me with all that information, and then take that, and whether it's in a PDF or Excel, then I might attach it to this as a supporting document to help justify the reconciliation. But instead, with built-in integration to Incorta, I have a hyperlink here. And this hyperlink is going to take me to Incorta and show me all the details that I will need to reconcile this account. So let's give it a shot. Let's go ahead and click this. You'll notice it brings me into Incorta. It automatically filters it. It passes the account and ledger information. So I'm looking exactly at the data that I need. But not only can I see all the data that I need, I also see some nice metrics, right? Top journal sources, journal summary by batches, et cetera. And you'll see here that I can see all the detail that I need to make the decision for the reconciliation and support the reconciliation. Again, this data is not in BlackLine. This is a data, this detailed data is only in Incorta and in the source system. But since we copy the entire source system, all the data that the user needs is right here at his fingertips. So let's go ahead and go down, and you'll notice that if this detail wasn't enough for me, well, first of all, let's go and verify. Yes, we're looking at the same $43 million that we saw and back here, right, on in the account rec page of BlackLine. So I'm looking at the $43 million exactly as it exists and the details that support it. If I wanted more detail, I can simply go down here to the journal header ID. And because this is an AR account, I'm going to go ahead and do a drill on AR. And this takes me all the way down to the actual invoice details that are supporting these transactions. So you can see with just 2 clicks, I'm able to get from the account reconciliation page in BlackLine to details about all the journal entries that make up that account reconciliation number, and now down to the actual invoice detail. Again, none of this detail resides in BlackLine, but it's all in Incorta, so the user can make their decisions right here in literally just 2 clicks. And this saves them a ton of time and actually helps reduce the number of days in their close cycle. Let's go see how we set this up now. So within Incorta, there's a few things we need to do to set this up. The first thing we need to do is set up a data destination. So we've already set up the data destination as BlackLine, but if this wasn't set up, I can simply click New, and add a data destination. And it would bring me to a page that looks essentially like this, where I configure it. I just simply put the host name, the user, the password, and the port, and then the data destination is set up. Now we're going to use this here later, so remember this data destination setup process here, but as you can see, it's pretty simple. The next thing I'll do is want to install the data application that both connects to my data source, in this case EBS, pulls that data from EBS into Incorta, and also specifies how it gets sent to BlackLine. So you can see here, there's a data application, BlackLine accounts reconciliation for Oracle EBS. I click on it. If this wasn't installed already, it'd give me a button here to install it, but we're not going to do that since it's already installed. But you can see here, It's very simple, very easy, and there's a lot of good information that describes how it works. Essentially, getting from the data source through Incorta to BlackLine, and then the drill back capability. Lots of different screenshots and description of not only how to set it up, but how to use it. So pretty good stuff right here. Once I click this install button, it's going to install three major things. One is the schema, which is the definition of how we bring data from Oracle EBS into Incorta. Then the next thing it installs is the business schema. The business schema is really the semantic layer and business logic that takes the schema and organizes it in a way to support the dashboards we built, but also for drill down, but also the import specification for BlackLine. And then it also installs some content, and that content is that dashboard we saw when we drilled through, as well as some additional dashboards that I'll walk you through in a moment. So again, once we install this from the marketplace, it installs schema, business schema, and content. And so let's walk through those three things. First is the schema. Notice here that there's a bunch of tables that were loaded from the EBS source system into Incorta, but there's also this one that's specific for BlackLine. This is a BlackLine EBS general ledger is what it's called. And you can see the description here. It's for moving data from eBusiness Suite to BlackLine specifically. Let's go ahead and click on here and I'll show you a little bit about it. This particular schema was 17 tables with 44 joins, 15 million rows of data and about a gig in size. And it happened in all of about 13 seconds to get it loaded. To give you an appreciation for the data that it did load, this is the schema, the diagram of the schema behind it, and all the different tables and all their different joins. So this is already defined, and simply by installing the data application from the marketplace, this gets installed. The next thing, like I said, is the business schema. So let's take a look at the business schema. You'll notice here there's one BlackLine data model, right? And so once we click on this, it'll take us to the different elements of that business schema. And again, there's logic in here that, for example, accounting groups tells us, if an account is part of a group, which group is it a part of? And if you're reconciling an account group, you bring together all the accounts for that group. There's a journal lines a schema, which contains some logic around, how we activate accounts and active periods and so forth. And then the account file. Now, this should look very familiar to BlackLine users. This is the actual data definition that they require to import data into BlackLine. So we've created a business schema that is essentially the semantic layer that will then produce the output file to be imported into BlackLine. You can also see there's some nice data lineage here too. So if we could select one of these segments, let's select segment 3, you can see here that we can see where the data is coming from and which columns impact the value of segment 3 in this business schema. The last thing besides schema and business schema is the actual content. So let's go to the content, and you can see here, there's the drill reports, which I already showed you one of those. When we drilled through to the AR report, we have reports for AR, AP, inventory, fixed assets, and project costing. So all of those types of accounts have specific drill through reports. But then there's the account for BlackLine template, which this is the output format that Incorta will output that mirrors the input specification for BlackLine. So each of these different columns is required for importing into BlackLine, and we've mirrored it essentially. So what you would do then is you would simply schedule this to be exported at a certain frequency. Remember, we created that data destination in the very beginning. Here's where you select that data destination, that BlackLine data destination. Choose the file format that we want to export it as. Text file is a requirement for BlackLine. And then you simply schedule it to happen once every hour, once every 3 hours, or what have you. And that then will update the data within BlackLine at the schedule that you've identified. So hopefully that gives you a good understanding of our data application for bringing data from Oracle EBS into BlackLine. We have customers using this today. They love it. And hopefully you can find time to work it into your accounts and talk to your customers about it too, because they're really loving it and they're saving days on their close cycle, which in any financial organization is a huge goal. All right, enjoy.